What's up, everybody? Thanks for listening to the Whatcast. Mike, we got something cool to talk about tonight, but before we get to that, I got to ask you something. My buddy Ryan sent me something on Instagram, a couple of things here that I kind of wanted to ask you about. The first one is I keep seeing these fucking clips of lasers being shot from the sky.
Lasers being shot from the sky, you say?
Yeah, I just sent you a newsreel, and it has a couple videos of it. I would love for you to take a look at that and tell me what you think that is, because I've never seen anything like this. I don't know if passenger jets can just shine lasers. It has to be a giant laser to be fucking this visible, right?
Well, let me take a look.
And I only bring it up because I saw this a few months ago, but it's just I'm seeing video after video after video of examples.
So that looks like it's some sort of drone doing that.
Yeah?
Yeah, like, because when they filmed the aircraft going over, look how skinny the body of that aircraft is. So I'm thinking whatever it is that's doing that, it's scanning, doing some sort of scanning. But what is it scanning? And why isn't it being announced to the public what it's doing?
Right. And it seems to be scanning only one or two things. It's not like just blasting over an area.
Right. It's not just scanning as it goes. Yeah, it's weird. Very weird. I wonder if it has to do with maybe some criminal activity.
Ooh, maybe. We'll post it in the show notes so you guys can see it too. Or if you've seen these videos already, let us know what you think. Because it's kind of weird. It's just something I've never seen that before. It seems like such a big, bright laser that I don't know if a drone can carry something like that.
Well, if it was a bigger, it's probably not criminal activity just because it's not like one of those quadcopters, but it looks like a military drone, like a surveillance drone.
Ooh.
So I wonder if maybe it's just like if they're testing military, because they usually will do that and fly military technology over civilian areas for testing. So I wonder if that's what this is. And of course, the military never admits to it because who the fuck do they have to answer to,
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's what this is, if they're just testing new technology. But I wonder, what would the green laser, what would be the purpose of that, I wonder?
Yeah, they can gather a bunch of information from that. Distance and maybe even some type of targeting system for like a heat vision or night vision. That's something that a local sheriff's office could be testing a new piece of equipment.
Yeah, that's true too. And you don't want to let the local criminal element know that you're testing so that you can better get a read on them.
Well, there's a second clip that we got from our buddy Ryan that I sent you. This is one of the first videos I've seen in a long time to where it's of a creature that I can't identify. I really don't know what this is. It does something in the water that I think you'll recognize as well, Mike, and we'll talk about it when you see it. But I'm calling this the Blobigator.
So to me, and I don't know for certain, but to me it looks like fish spawning in the water.
Ooh, I didn't think of that actually. I recognize the water shaking like that as bellowing from like an alligator or something.
Yeah, that could be it too. But the part where you see that big mass, it's all dark, and then you just see it looks like it changes color really quick. That could be the release from the bunch of fish gathering together to procreate.
Sick. So I just sent you a video of a bunch of fish jizz?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, do you know where that's from? Like what area of the world, what body of water, whether it's fresh water or salt water or brackish?
I think it's either Central or South America.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I really don't know, but to me that would be my guess, would be that it's fish spawning.
It's definitely a weird one. I've seen fish spawning before, and that didn't cross my mind at all.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a biologist out there that's already identified exactly what that is. Probably if you look through the comments, there'll be somebody that says what that is actually showing. But that's just my guess as a non-biologist human that exists in the world. I'm just speculating. Maybe it is a blobigator. That'd be a lot cooler. I would love a good blobigator.
Yeah.
Add to the watery cryptids.
Could be the new mascot for Florida's football team.
The Florida Blobigators.
Yeah.
Hey, you could compete against the Globsters. The Blobigator versus the Globster. Let's go.
Well, again, I'll put both of those clips in the show notes, and yeah, if you guys want to see them before the show, like if you're like, oh, I can't see these. When they talk about videos, I can't see it. Follow us on Instagram; they'll be up there when the show's put out, so you can see it there.
Yeah, that's where to go. And if you are a biologist, then please tell us what it is, because I'm very interested.
Yeah, I want Sam to look at that footage.
Yeah, Sam the scientist, man, let's go. He's our resident Discord scientist, but he's also an actual scientist as well. So shout out to Sam. Keep up the sciencey stuff, and I hope you had good luck in your Brazilian endeavors this evening. Like 2 people are gonna get that, but I don't care. I gotta throw it out there.
So we're gonna talk about something fucking weird and possibly awesome.
Fucking wizards again.
Yeah.
I love talking about wizards.
Me too. Like, there's so many cool relics from that period of time. We have suits of armor and swords and all that cool shit. I just want to find one skeleton that's wearing a fucking long robe and a long pointy hat.
Well, the wizard that I'm talking about is actually, there is a description of him wearing a wizard, basically a wizard outfit.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. So this is a guy by the name of Sir Hugo Gifford, who also goes by the name Sir Hugh Gifford or Sir Hugh Giffard. But he is the second of his name, and he was also the Lord of Yester in Scotland, and was also one of the regents in Scotland. He was considered one of the guardians for King Alexander III of Scotland while King Alexander was still in the age of minority, and he also was considered the guardian of his wife at the time, Queen Margaret, who was also the daughter of King Henry III of England. So he had quite a bit of responsibility, but he was appointed one of the regents of the kingdom by the Treaty of Roxburgh in September of 1255. And due to the age of the young royals, like I mentioned, they were in the minority. There was a council of regents that was formed, and their whole purpose was to manage the government and act as guardians for the young royal couple. But King Henry III did not approve of the regents that were established. So in August of 1255, he offered his aid and protection to a group of 15 barons, which included Sir Hugo. And a month later, the treaty was signed, and the barony of Yester, which was formerly known as Yestred, which meant Dale, I guess, was granted to Hugo by King William. And then at some point in the 1260s, a stone keep was built here. So it's here that the legend kind of begins. Sir Gifford was an educated man, and he was known to enjoy science and dabbled in alchemy, which, you know, at the time was considered a viable science. But as a result of this, he kind of started to take on the reputation of being a warlock and a necromancer and someone who practiced the black art. The reputation was strengthened by this guy named John de Forden, who was a 14th century chronicler who, in writing about him, claimed that he had made a pact with the devil and that he had a demon army, and he had this castle built with the help of the devil and demons, and he built underneath the castle this chamber that became known as Goblin Hall, or Goblin Ha. But this was built through the use of magic and was built specifically to carry out the arcane rituals that Sir Hugo was a part of. So he became known as the Wizard of Yester, and the reputation that followed him was that he was a powerful sorcerer and that he could communicate with the dead. But the chamber that he was thought to practice his rituals, it was thought that it was actually an army of goblins or hobgoblins that were summoned after Sir Hugo made a pact with the devil, and they built this. Apparently, so the way that this thing looks, and I'll have pictures so that we can put it on our Instagram page and everything so you guys can check it out. But this chamber at the time was thought to be a wonder in modern engineering at the time, and because of the design of the chamber and the fact that it was built beneath this castle but also extended into the ground, it was thought that it had to have been done by magic. So because of that, these stories came up that he had summoned goblins or hobgoblins, and that he would practice his dark arts in these chambers, which included not only casting spells but also summoning demons and speaking with the spirits of the dead. And it was also said that he had an army of ghosts and goblins that he could summon to do his bidding.
Ghosts and goblins?
Ghost and goblins, that is correct.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But the castle itself doesn't really exist anymore. The keep was originally captured by the English in 1308, and then after the Scots took it back from the English, the Scots actually destroyed it, because at the time, this was during the Scottish War of Independence, and Robert the Bruce had a policy that any castles that were vulnerable to invasion were considered unserviceable, and rather than letting them fall into the hands of the enemy, where they could, use it as a place to rest or build up their resources or whatever, they were to be destroyed. So it was destroyed in the early 1300s, but parts of it still existed. And then in 1547, the English again came in and damaged the castle. Then it was reconstructed partially and finally abandoned in 1557, when the final occupant, his name was William Hay, he was the fifth Baron of Yester, and he actually relocated out of the castle into a nearby townhouse. So he left. And then following that, parts of the castle ended up getting taken down and used for new buildings. So they actually took the stone from the castle to build other buildings in the area. And by the 18th century, it was basically ruined. But throughout all of this time, so from the mid 1200s through the present, the Goblin Hall has remained intact.
Ooh.
And that's the only place. And up until recent, it might be reopened, but up until recently, it's still been open to people to come in and view. There's a door from the outside where you can go in and see the Goblin Hall. There's a part that extends into the hillside, and apparently, historically speaking, it was said to have led to a well, way back centuries ago. But the tunnel has been collapsed, so you can't see where it actually led out to. And local legend says that the tunnel actually descended to hell, and that's why it was blocked off, to prevent access from hell.
Oh, wow.
To the castle. But a lot of the people that go there have said they feel like a sinister presence while they're down there, and they kind of get the feeling like they're not welcome. The site itself is actually considered to be protected at this point as an ancient monument, But a couple of years ago, and I don't know if it's reopened since then, some assholes went in there and took a bunch of the bricks out of one of the supporting walls that's holding up the arch in the Goblin Hall. So it was considered unsafe for...
Always gotta fuck it up for somebody
I know.
else.
So I would imagine it has probably been repaired or is being repaired since it's considered an ancient site that's protected by the government. But yeah, someone took out like half of, well, I shouldn't say half of the wall, but like halfway up the wall, they took out a bunch of bricks. So
You know who?
it was the goblins. They're trying to topple it.
It's another wizard, dude.
Rival wizard.
Yeah, those stones have been blasted with magical practicings for centuries now.
Yeah, you're probably right. And they're like, we're going to bring down the Goblin Hall once and for all.
They're building their own hall, and they want the bricks from the ancient Goblin Hall.
Oh, maybe. That's what they're doing. They're just pulling the bricks out one by one. And they got a little greedy one night and took too many. And they're like, fuck, they're on to me. Now they have to teleport them out of there.
Yeah, what if this generations of brick gatherers are lazy and they didn't bring the replacement bricks?
I mean, what they should have done was just make a pact with the devil, summon that goblin army to dismantle the hall and reconfigure it elsewhere. That would be the smart thing to do, not be a fucking vandal.
Yeah.
Lazy ass wizards, man. They don't make them like they used to, I tell you.
I hope it's reopened to the public. That'd be cool to go check out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like this vaulted stone structure. I'll send you pictures so you can see it. But yeah, it's someone just wanted to have a piece of the Goblin Hall. I hope they're cursed by goblins now.
Yeah.
Fuckers. But back to Sir Hugo, the Wizard of Yester. So I mentioned that he was a guardian of Alexander. So because he was guarding Alexander when Alexander was still in his age of minority, he was entrusted by the king. So when Norway invaded Scotland in 1263, he summoned Sir Hugo to help protect Scotland. So in 1808, there was a publication called The Marmion, written by Sir Walter Scott. And in Canto 3 of The Marmion, he writes about Alexander getting help from Sir Hugo. And this is where he describes him as a wizard. So I'm going to read just a quick excerpt from The Marmion. And just because I think it's cool that the legend of him, not even just him being a wizard, but this act of him helping the king defend the country survived. This was written, like I said, in 1808. He writes, "A clerk could tell what years have flown since Alexander filled our throne, third monarch of that warlike name, and eke the time when here he came, to seek Sir Hugo, then our lord. A braver never drew a sword. A wiser at the hour of midnight spoke the word of power, the same that ancient records call the founder of Goblin Hall. Lord Gifford, deep beneath the ground, heard Alexander's bugle sound, and tarried not his garb to change, but in his wizard habit strange, came forth a quaint and fearful sight, his mantle lined with fox skins white. His high and wrinkled forehead bore a pointed cap, such as of yore Pharaoh's magi wore. His shoes were marked with cross and spell, upon his breast a pentacle, and in his hand a naked sword without a guard."
I mean, that's Gandalf, right?
Yeah, basically. I mean, even had a fucking sword.
Yeah. With no scabbard.
Yeah. It's fucking
Wow.
Gandalf, man.
Yeah.
Get out of here, Merlin. We got a new Gandalf in town.
A sword wielder.
Yeah, I mean, what'd Merlin do? Build a stack of stones? This guy fucking summoned an army of goblins to build him a castle.
Yeah, I mean, goblins are heavy in Scottish folklore, right? I mean,
he's like He's like the Scottish King Solomon.
Right, yeah. That's what I was thinking.
He's binding the demons and goblins to his will and making him build him a house.
Well, maybe he was like, I'm not fucking with demons. I'll use some ghosts and goblins.
Yeah, I like it much better with ghosts and goblins. It's more fun.
It sounds like this guy may have influenced a few things. One of the names you said in the beginning, it sounded like Jafar, and that was like an evil wizard from Aladdin or something like that. And then you got Gandalf, clearly.
Yeah. One of the pronunciations of his name was Jafar.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah. But this guy, so in addition to speaking to the dead and summoning goblins and having an army of ghosts and everything, he was also able to bestow luck as well as curses on people, apparently. So we've got the famous story of the Coalstone pair. And this was a story, so it's a weird story, and I think it's probably more related to legend. I mean, when you hear you're gonna, of course that's a legend, but also history kind of points to something else that happened. But I'll tell the legend first, and then I'll kind of explain why I think it's not likely a real story. So the legend of the Coalstone pair goes that when Sir Hugo's daughter Margaret was preparing to marry her fiancé, who according to the story was George Brown of Coalstone, Hugo gave his would-be son-in-law a hand-picked pear, nice, perfectly fresh pear. But he told him that if anything were to happen to the pear, it would bring disaster down on the Browns family. The story goes that he told George that while his daughter Margaret was wonderful, her dowry would be even better. Margaret would only be considered good for her generation. So not meaning that she's, worthless or anything, but she would only be able to provide for the generation that she lived in. Once she died, that was that essentially. But this pair, as long as the pair stayed in the family, it would cause the family to flourish until the end of time. So in order to keep it safe, George Brown encased the pair in a silver box. And as long as this pair was kept in this box, the Brown family prospered. And this prosperity continued. It actually continued for hundreds of years. However, in 1692, the fiancé of a new generation's George Brown, so the name George Brown was carried on throughout the centuries, because now here we are 4 centuries later, essentially.
And the latest one is James Brown, the godfather of soul.
Well, Brown is spelled different. It's Broun as opposed to
shit.
W-N. Yeah. But George Brown married a baronet of Nova Scotia named Lady Elizabeth Mackenzie. And she had a dream on the night of their wedding that she removed the pear from its silver box and took a bite out of the pear. So immediately George's father looks at this as a bad omen, because this no one has touched the pear in 400 years. And it's brought us good luck. If, the fact that she's even having a dream about eating this is a bad omen for our family. And so, he's spooked out by this, but the wedding goes off anyway. Everything's fine. Nothing, everybody, the prosperity continues. Everybody's happy. Lady Elizabeth becomes pregnant. And as having a wife who's had children and been pregnant, obviously, sometimes pregnant women have weird cravings when they're pregnant, and it just so happened that she had a strange craving for pears.
No, the bitch.
But not any pear. mind you. She could not get the craving for this specific forbidden magical pear out of her head. And so the cravings persisted to the point where she could no longer resist it and ended up taking a bite. So she removed it from the silver box, and when she removed it, it looked as fresh as the day that it was plucked from the tree. She bit into it, but once she took a bite, the pear immediately turned brown, shriveled up, and it became as hard as a walnut. From that point forward, the Brown family became cursed. George, who, by all accounts, was not given to gambling, suddenly became addicted to gambling. And not only became addicted to it, but he was awful at it. And he ended up amassing an incredible amount of gambling debts. As a result of these debts, he was forced to sell the family estate to his brother, Robert. And shortly after, Robert, along with his 2 sons, got caught in a flash flood on the way back to Colston House after the last independent meeting of Scottish Parliament. So there's this stream that runs through the estate called Colstone Water. And at this particular time, the stream had flooded over its banks, and the carriage driver that was bringing the Brown family home to Colstone House missed the ford due to the flooding. And as a result of him trying to overcorrect to make the ford, the carriage tipped over, and Robert and his 2 sons ended up drowning. His wife and daughters were also in the carriage, but they were able to escape and survive because they were wearing hooped skirts, which were able to actually hold air in them,
Right.
which kept them afloat. So they didn't end up drowning, but George and his 2 sons did end up dying, which left the family without a male heir. So all that was left now was Sir George, who himself was now destitute, and he ended up dying penniless in 1718, and he didn't have a male heir to carry on the name. So at this point, the family name was passed through the daughters of Robert. And the story goes that for generation this pear has remained, and that it exists and it's still hard as stone. So even without the story of, the wizard attached to it, the pear would be considered a natural curiosity, because at this point it would have existed for 7 centuries without rotting away.
Yeah.
The current Lord of Colstone, whose name is Ludovic Brown Lindsay, says that the pear still exists in his family and they keep it in a silver box, and that there's teeth marks that are still visible on this shriveled pear.
No way.
But with that being said, this could just be something that Ludovic is saying to keep the legend alive, because his wife has never even been allowed to see it.
Ooh, very interesting.
The other thing that kind of leads this story to be considered more of a legend, there's some dispute on who Margaret actually married. And the weird thing is there's a lot written about Sir Hugo, but there's nothing written about who he married, or who his wife was, so that we don't have any record of that. We do have a record of at least 3 of his children. He had a son named Sir John Gifford, and he has been proven to be the son of Sir Hugo. And we were able to follow, or I say historians were able to follow his lineage through John. So we know that from Sir Hugh, John took over from there, and they were able to trace the Gifford family from that point. But then there is Margaret, who is mentioned in the legend, who is not, there isn't any proof Like, we don't have any written documentation that she was his daughter. Historians consider her likely that she was Sir Hugo's daughter, but she's believed to have married someone named Alexander de Seton, Seton, rather than George Brown. And then he had another daughter named Ada Gifford, who was married to a Sir Andrew Grey. So neither one of his daughters match up to the story. But again, there's no proof that Margaret was his daughter, and it's only believed that she married Alexander. So maybe it's not a legend. Maybe it was an actual story, and the historians just don't know because we don't have the proof. But the last weird thing that I want to say about Sir Hugo is that there's no clear indicator of his death. So there was a historical document written in the late 18th century by Sir David Dalrymple. And in that document, it states that Sir Hugo Gifford died in 1267, which would have been shortly after the Yester Castle was constructed. But there is state papers written by King Edward I with a document that's pertaining to Scotland, which has a date range of November 3rd, 1278 to January 16th, 1279. And in these documents, there is very strong evidence that Hugh Gifford was still living in 1279. Beyond that, there is no further writing of what happened to the Wizard of Yester.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he took that tunnel to hell and he's partying with goblins, and then the town folk got freaked out and closed the tunnel, and he's like, "Fuck, man, I guess I'm here now." But then again, you'd think if he had a bunch of goblin pals, they would be able to tunnel him out. But
yeah, maybe he went on like a hunt for the people who were stealing the bricks to his goblin chamber.
Yeah, you steal the bricks, and then you have to face the Wizard of Yester coming out of your closet in the middle of the night.
Oh god! Yeah. And his team of goblins.
Yeah, his ghosts and goblin army will raid you, and they'll start stealing stuff from your house.
What if that's a sign of that dude being near? Is goblins? That's what they are.
Yeah. You see goblins, and you're like, I'm going to steal a brick of the goblin house. And then in the middle of the night, you just hear this chittering noise. Your closet door kicks open. Goblins raid your room, steal your fucking PlayStation, and bail. Yeah. Now what? Now the goblins got your PlayStation. What do you get? Was it worth the brick? And now they took your PlayStation to hell. So now hell has PlayStation. And that's a new punishment in hell. There's a big line of people because they heard that there's a PlayStation. They're like, oh, sweet, sweet respite. But they've got to get in line to play the PlayStation. And the line is basically, centuries long, but you only have like a minute to play. So by the time the game loads, it's already the next dude's turn. And so you got to get to the back of the line. So everyone, basically you're waiting in line for the load screen and then to the back of the line with you.
Yeah, the game's just a demo of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, yeah, we know this is a PS5, but just to be dicks, here you go. You get the demo disc from PlayStation 1. I hope you like Virtua Fighter 2. I hate that game. Too fucking bad.
It's vintage,
This
bitch.
is hell, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's rad that somebody supposedly used goblins to build a structure. Like you said, you mentioned Solomon. That was fascinating to dive into and all of that. I was watching some video the other day where they went through all the demons that Solomon summoned.
Yeah, I actually, on my wall, I've got a little mini poster thing with all 72 demons on it.
No way. I got to see that.
Yeah. I mean, when I say mini poster, it's like fucking like 10 by 7 or something. Like it's very small. So it's like every picture is like the size of a dime, but it's still pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, where'd you come across that?
I don't know, online somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I was just, I don't even remember exactly what I was looking for, but it was just one of those things that like pops up like, oh, you looked at this, you might be interested in this. I'm like, you know what? I actually am interested in that. Thank you.
That targeted advertising works.
Yeah. On this occasion, you got me. You offer me a fucking poster of the 72 Demons of Solomon. Who am I to say no? I'm only human after all.
Well, yeah, so one more for Wizards being real column.
Yeah. I wish there was more record of whether or not he got into some wars with other wizards. Like, you guys know I love a good story of wizard war, but unfortunately in this case, it doesn't sound like he waged war with other wizards. However, it sounds like the king knew what was up and wanted his help in fighting off the legions of Norway. So we can only assume that he summoned his ghosts and goblins and fucked up some Norway shit.
I wonder if we like scoured like Norwegian folktales, will come across like the Battle of Ghosts and Goblins.
Oh, I hope so.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
Like that's the birth of that shit over in Norway.
Yes.
Is goblins
and if somebody could animate that with the music from the video game Ghosts and Goblins, that would be amazing.
Right, there you go. There's another inspiration for this guy, Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he was the inspiration for the video game, and instead of King Arthur, it was supposed to be Alexander the Third. And they're just like, you know what? Let's make it Merlin and King Arthur. That's fine. Totally fine.
We got to make it kid-friendly.
Yeah. Nobody knows who Alexander the Third is. Fuck out of here.
Imagine how fun that game would have been if you were this dude and you were just like surrounded by goblins and ghosts and bashing up.
Yeah, instead of fighting the undead, you're summoning them and fighting Vikings. Hell yeah.
You could have been ahead of your time, Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah, let's get after it. We need a remake. Remake of Ghosts and Goblins.
Oh God, don't do
the
that.
Wizard of Yester.
Don't say that. They'll fucking make a new version of that, a movie of it, and they'll fucking have Chris Pratt play
Chris
King
Pratt
Arthur
as the Lord of Yester. And then we got to listen to him talk with a fake Scottish accent.
Oh yeah, I don't even think he would do it.
No, he wouldn't. He would just be like, no, everyone else would have a Scottish or a British accent, and he would just be Chris Pratt.
Yeah, he learned his lesson with the Mario thing.
Summoning goblins. So, way to go. And they'll probably have like they'll surround him with like a bunch of classic actors like fucking Jeremy Irons and shit.
Right. Jack Black will be the voice of like a CGI thing.
Jack Black will be the voice of every goblin. Just different variations of his voice will be the different goblins.
Oh man.
Which, I mean, honestly, that's pretty spot on. So I don't hate that. But, you know, that's Hollywood for you, man. Just shovel the same shit down our faces all of the times and tell us it's good. It's so good. It's so it's never delicious. It's never good.
But the shit they're previewing for the Crow remake is heartbreaking.
Dude, I saw a picture that they posted, like the first picture of Bill Skarsgård as the Crow, and instantly people are drawing Jared Leto Joker comparisons, and they're not wrong.
Oh yeah, terrible.
Yeah, because Hollywood's like, body tattoos are so key. That's what
mullet,
we need.
Bowl cut mullet.
We need more tattoos. And I mean, really, all you need is just a fucking dude with the face paint on. We don't need to see key tattoos. We don't need it, man.
Or gold teeth, or all this weird
we don't
shit.
we don't need the stupid shit. Just keep the stuff that works. It's not fucking hard. Fuck you, Hollywood, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Everybody's mad about Madam Web, but like I don't know why anybody would think a Madam Web movie would be good.
Especially when there's no connection to Spider-Man. Well, I guess there is, but
even if there was, I was like, it's Madam. What? Come on, guys.
yeah, Madam Web should not ever be her own movie ever. And whoever thought that was obviously does not understand what makes a good Spider-Man story. Because Madam Web would be fine if you want to do a live-action Spider-Verse thing and like introduce her then, and she doesn't need her own movie. So it's no wonder that movie sucked all of the dicks. But all these like side Spider-Man movies are like the fucking Craven movie looks like cabbage.
Oh,
I never even saw the Morbius one, but I've made my feelings on Jared Leto known many times, so I don't really need to rehash that.
It's done better than Madam Web, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. So there we go. But until we get a Lord of Yester movie, Hollywood can suck my ass.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.